Beat the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kitties, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really sucking that ball. Hitting those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the MetsCast Mets of New York Town.
And here are your hosts of the MetsCast, Nick Durst and John Brown.
East side, west side, everybody's coming down.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the MetsCast, episode number 2 of the 2018 season, right here on DoubleGSports.com. We want to thank all of our listeners from the first episode of the season. I'm Nick Durst, and I'm going to be joined, of course, again by John Brown, the host of this program. You can also reach us on Twitter throughout the season. We'll be more than happy to answer any of your Mets questions or interact with you. I'm on Twitter at Nick_Durst, and John is on Twitter at SI_Sports. John, the Mets, same issues are going on here. I don't know if you saw this in the news this week, but the Arizona Diamondbacks, or the D-backs as they're now called, are going to be bringing back the bullpen cart to speed up the game, to drive their pitchers in from the bullpen. The Mets should probably just invest in an ambulance, and they could drive that from the bullpen to the pitcher's mound, because these guys are dropping like flies. New year, new Mets, sort of, new regime with the medical staff, but the injuries are here to stay, I guess.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm in a Twilight Zone episode because it's the same thing basically every year. But you know what it is? It's sort of the way it is. It's the game. What can you do?
Right. So, obviously, we were expecting injuries, but who would have known that we'd have so many injuries in the beginning of spring training? So let's walk through some of them. The number one injury right now, which is probably the biggest concern, is Ahmed Rosario. He had a knee injury, or initially, we thought, and then he underwent a MRI for a groin or hamstring injury, and that came back clean. So they said knee, he went for an MRI for a groin or hamstring. He's considered day-to-day. The MRI said he's fine, but who really knows what the injury is? But this guy, they're counting on him big time, the Mets, and they really need him in there right now, every day in spring training, so he can continue to grow as a player and get ready for the regular season, because a lot's depending on him this year, John.
Absolutely. And, when it's a guy's legs, that happens a lot. Myself, I tore my ACL and my MCL. When you have a knee injury, it changes your gait. And what that basically does is it makes it, it changes the way that you walk, so that, it might have started out as a knee and then it, ends up becoming, something else. It's tough because he's a young guy who depends on his legs. So, I just hope that it's nothing really serious.
Right. So if he's not back by opening day, which might be a possibility at this point, I believe that Jose Reyes will be the starting shortstop in there opening day, and that would open the door for another position player to make the roster. And I think Gavin Cecchini definitely has proven that he should be the guy to this point. Cecchini, I don't know how much you've seen of him this spring, but he's tearing it up. He's batting .385 with some power, too. 2 home runs. I think this guy should definitely be given the chance to be on the roster if Rosario misses opening day. We don't need to see Ty Kelly again. We know he comes up, he does terrible, they send him back down, he comes up, they send him back down, he comes up, they DFA him, he goes to another team, he does terrible, they get rid of him, and he comes back. It's the same cycle with Ty Kelly. I'd rather see a young guy who was a high pick for the Mets actually be given a chance to have some playing time at the major league level.
I'm in the same boat as you with that. The only issue is, and the Mets do this quite a bit, is sometimes you can ruin a guy. If he's actually not ready for the major leagues, you bring him up here, and psychologically it could ruin him because he'll just struggle.
Right.
You don't want to do that.
The major issue in that regard with the Mets, which they always screw up, is that the player is major league ready, then they call him up and they don't play him. And they're like, this guy was batting .350 in AAA, and now he is only being a pinch hitter, and he's having one at-bat a week, and he's been here for 4 weeks, and he's batting .250. What's up with that? Well, he went 1 for 4. What do you expect from the guy? They always ruin the development. So that, I definitely agree with you. But very, very impressed by his spring so far. It's definitely encouraging to see him developing. Now, to the other injuries, Jacob deGrom. This is the best pitcher on the Mets. Lower back stiffness. He's day-to-day. He has not made a start yet this spring. They say he's going to get his first start on Sunday. And who knows if he's going to be ready to go in time for the beginning of the season. You would think he is. But if anything is wrong with deGrom long-term, John, you could just basically throw in the towel on this season.
Yeah, we need deGrom to really be that, all-star number one pitcher again. If he misses a long period of time, or if he tries to play through injury and he's not himself, it's going to be a long season.
Yes, and he was phenomenal last year. He pitched over 200 innings for the first time. He went on a streak where he was just winning games all in a row. And this is a team that didn't win a lot of games. He accounted for a lot of their wins. And 2016, he was pitching great. He got injured. 2015, we know how amazing he was. And in the postseason, he really showed that he's one of the elite of the game. And he doesn't get the credit he deserves, which is a real shame. But I think he's going to be okay, and they really need him. So hopefully he's back in time for the beginning of the season. The other injury is Dom Smith. He has a tweaked right quad. What's going on with that? We don't know. Is he going to be back? Who knows? At this point, though, I don't think there's anything he could do unless he comes back like tomorrow or something and hits a home run every at bat. I don't think there's anything he could do that's going to force the Mets' hand to make him the opening day first baseman. I think Adrian Gonzalez is going to be the first baseman for the Mets on opening day and in April. And Dom Smith is just going to have to fight his way back to the major leagues because he did not play well when he got called up in 2017. He was late to the first game of spring training, and now he's injured. So he's really not being able to prove himself.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who's sort of like he's his own worst enemy. Because, he struggled last year, but this year the Mets didn't really go out and bring in like a big-time first baseman. They brought in this guy who missed almost all of last year. He's 36 or 37, so he's obviously just a bridge, a Band-Aid. They're basically giving him the job to win it, and he's not really all about it. I don't know. Sometimes when guys try to get in too good of shape, they pull their quads and stuff. That they're too tight because they're too cut up. I don't know if that's the case with him, but it's really, really disappointing. He's going to end up in AAA, and I guess honestly, like we talked about last week, I think that obviously we'll start with Adrian Gonzalez, but the way it will shake out, it's going to end up being Frazier at first, and then probably Reyes, Cabrera at third. They'll move some stuff around, but for whatever reason, I'm not sold on Adrian Gonzalez. I like him. I think he's a good ball player. I just like him, in 2008. I don't like him so much right now.
Time will tell how he does, but like we mentioned on the last show, it's a low-risk, high-reward type of signing. You're only paying him the major league minimum. The Braves are paying him the rest of his contract. 1-year deal. If he's not performing at all, like if he's really not even making contact, he's batting, like $150, you can get rid of him. It's not going to be a huge deal. The other injury that we got to talk about is the Mets' first offseason signing, and that would be Anthony Swarzak. This guy is supposed to come here and solidify the bullpen, and he has a calf injury, and the timetable for him returning is unknown. It's lingering, this injury, and again, this is another injury that should not be happening, but it has happened, and now we don't know if this guy's going to be back. And the Mets, they were really relying on him going into this season.
Yeah, I saw he hurt himself covering first base. That's one of those things like, it kind of happens. There's really nothing you can do about it. So I don't want to, beat him up too much over that. Um, but on the same note, sometimes these relievers, they're sort of ready. I feel like the pitchers always get ready pretty quickly, and I think they'll be all right. I'm not worried about it. I think that he'll be fine. If he misses a couple days early on, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Right.
As long as he gets back in a reasonable time.
Right. So, well, hopefully he's back because we'll talk about it. The Mets have a major issue in the bullpen. The other injury news is the guys that were injured that are back now, and that's Jay Bruce. He had plantar fasciitis. John, for our listeners out there, care to explain how plantar fasciitis might affect an outfielder who's trying to move around pretty quickly to catch fly balls?
Yeah, it's the arch of your foot. If you remember, Eli Manning actually tore his completely. It's rough, man. My wife actually has issues with it. She's constantly trying to break up. Basically, what happens is scar tissue builds up on the ball of your foot, so it makes pivoting and quick movement difficult. It's extremely painful too. Actually, it's a funny story. Eli Manning actually treated his plantar fasciitis by wearing cowboy boots. So he looked goofy in cowboy boots, but hey, if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid,
Right. So Jay Bruce, if you're listening, get those cowboy boots because we need you in the outfield. This is my concern when we talked about the off-season signings is that, Jay Bruce, he's getting older. He's not the best outfielder as it is, and they're relying on him. He needs to be out there every day, but he came back. He's playing now. He had a home run, and ultimately, what is he here for? He's here to hit home runs. So I think he'll be okay in that regard. His defense was never going to be amazing, but hopefully it doesn't cost the Mets too many runs. The other outfielder that was injured, this is the guy that saves a ton of runs, and that's Juan Lagares. It seems like nowadays he's always hurt for some reason. He had a tight hamstring, but he was back out there finally in center field. But he's missed time. He has always had issues hitting for the most part, and I think that Brandon Nimmo, he really needs to start in center field and bat leadoff for this team against righties. And so far this spring, he's proving that he should be the leadoff hitter and everyday center fielder because he's batting .333. He has 2 home runs. One of them he led off the game on the first pitch. And his best feature is that he has a .423 on base percentage, and he actually has some speed, something the Mets don't have. So I think it's just a logical choice that against righties, he needs to start and he needs to play center field, especially since this is Sandy Alderson's first ever draft pick, and he's developing well. He played very well down the stretch last year. He's showing he has some power now. He plays good defense, and I just think that they need a leadoff hitter, and he's definitely the guy who could fill those shoes at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's one of those things where you got to make sure that I know the big thing that people have like sort of got on him about has been about the does he really cover enough ground to play Major League center field? Honestly, I would almost say I'll take whatever it is. I'll take the the couple balls that might drop in for him to get on base and play well. I like Lagares. I think he's a good ball player. I just don't think that he hits enough to play in the major leagues at this point.
Right. I mean, he's definitely a major leaguer in the sense that he shouldn't be in the minors. He should be on a roster. He's one of the best center fielders in the game. He just shouldn't be an everyday player. He's going to be on the roster. He's very valuable. He's going to lead the league in defensive replacements this season because if the Mets have a big lead, Jay Bruce is coming out of the game, Conforto's going to right, and Lagares is coming into center at the end of the game. That's going to be the formula for the most part once Conforto's back. But in the meantime, with Conforto out, I think Nimmo needs to get the majority of the playing time just because he's very valuable at the top of the lineup. But Lagares is back now, which is a good sign. The other thing that is very important is that Cespedes, he was hurt. He was having shoulder soreness. He was the Mets' best player. He's back now. He's looking good. But the big news with him, John, is that he will not be playing any golf during this season. How do you feel about that as an avid golfer?
I love that because I was always confused on how these guys could golf. Because when we played softball, my golf swing actually fuck up my softball swing. So I don't understand how these guys even did it. But you know what? Good on him.
He's being very dedicated to the season after the injury-riddled year last year, and there's a big bat. The Mets need a lot of production for him, so hopefully it works out. And the other injury news is that Tim Tebow, he's back now, but he sprained his ankle by stepping on a sprinkler head in the outfield. Something's wrong there that there's sprinkler heads popping up in the outfield for the Mets. I mean, that's obviously an injury waiting to happen. Don't you think the groundskeeper needs to do a better job of maintaining the field in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. But, it's spring training, so I'm not really God knows what field he was on,
Right, but, if it wasn't Tebow, it would have been somebody else. I mean, I'm sure once he hit his ankle, then they were like, oh, we better fix this. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have been Cespedes. Could you imagine? That would have been like the most Mets storyline ever. Oh, Cespedes is out for the year. He tripped on a sprinkler head at spring training. It could have been Syndergaard. He could have been shagging fly balls in batting practice. Bam, ankle's gone. Ankle's out. He's gone. I mean, just ridiculous with these sprinkler heads. But let's move on. Like, the sprinkler heads are ridiculous. Let's move on to something that's even more ridiculous, and that's Hansel Robles. This guy has been horrendous this spring training, and this is the big issue that I mentioned earlier with the bullpen, why they need Swarzak to come back. Robles, John, 4 games, 5 innings, 9 earned runs. This guy is just, he's giving up home runs, first pitch home runs, same thing, points to the sky, like, oh, got the ball, there it is. The ball's like 15 feet over the fence. No one's catching it except the fan.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. And he's just... if he makes the team, I'm going to be so confused because he's by far the worst reliever on the roster. What is it that Sandy Alderson sees in this guy? Because I don't see it, you don't see it, and most Met fans definitely don't see it. I mean, the only good thing that you could say about him is that he's already in mid-season form because this is exactly what he did last year.
I'm starting to think that maybe he's somebody's nephew, and it's they're doing him a favor by keeping him on the team. The only I would say like saving grace I could bring up about that is maybe, just maybe, the idea is that they're gonna get a good look at him in here in the spring. See what he has. If he has nothing, they'll just cut him loose and he won't make the team.
So, because they designated Josh Smoker for assignment in the offseason because they needed to clear somebody off the 40-man roster. And Smoker, he had a pretty solid rookie year last year. And this is a guy who's lefty. The Mets only have one lefty in the bullpen now with Jerry Blevins. I would have kept him and got rid of Robles because Robles, he really. Hopefully you're right. Where it's just like, we'll take a look at him. If he does bad, which he's doing, he's gone. But if he's on the opening day roster, something's wrong there. It's a major issue. He does not deserve to be in the major leagues.
Oh no, he stinks. But on the same note, as far as lefties go, I think that Matz might be pitching himself right into that bullpen to be the second lefty.
Well, Matz obviously 2 bad starts so far. All reports indicate that if Matz does not make the team, he's going to be sent to AAA to continue as a starter. Because they don't think Matz can be a reliever, and also they're going to need, just face it, the Mets are going to need 6, 7, 8 starters at some point this year. So you got to keep these guys fresh in the with their arms stretched out to start. But Matz, he hasn't looked good. Vargas, he comes in, they're saying he's guaranteed a rotation spot. I don't think that should be the case, John, because we talked about this last week on our show. He'd be better suited to be that second lefty in the bullpen. He, so far in spring, 2 starts, 4.2 innings pitched, and a 5.79 ERA. Not terrific.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has a guaranteed anything. They probably said that in the contract or whatever, but they could always, eat some of that money or whatever. But it's I wasn't a huge fan of Vargas the last time he was on the Mets. he's a lefty, so as long as you're a lefty with a heartbeat, they'll keep you around.
Right. I just think he'd be better in the bullpen, and I don't think it should be guaranteed the spot because you have guys like Lugo. Lugo's looked really good. Zach Wheeler, who they said, he's got no shot to make the rotation. He's going to be in the bullpen. He's looking really good. In 3 games, he's got a 1.80 ERA. He started 2 of those games, and he's pitched 5 innings. He struck out 8 batters. He's looking good. Maybe that offseason procedure to strengthen his bones is actually helping him out a lot.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where he's always had the talent. It was all about staying healthy for him. Because I think that he's obviously talented enough to be a major league ball player, and he pitched really well in the World Baseball Classic last year. It's just you got to stay on the field, Baseball is a marathon because it's so long that you really gotta. It's a skill, it's one of the kind of amazing things about guys like Jamie Moore here. We're able to just stay healthy forever.
Right, and obviously health and Mets pitchers, those two things don't go together. But you have some guys returning from injuries. Syndergaard, he pitched a few innings in September, but he's back now. His first start, John, he comes out and he's throwing 100 miles per hour with ease, and no one can really touch him. It was very impressive.
Very, very impressive. As far as raw talent goes, he's probably the most talented pitcher on the Mets. He's that good. He just, please God, stay healthy. I think he's poised to have a really great year. He's always had that amazing fastball. If he could throw the breaking ball over as a strike, because he has that big, he has a great breaking ball as well. We were talking before we were on air about the Mets Reddit subreddit. Today is about in 2015 he struck out Jay Bruce at the time on the Reds with a hanger, and you can see his mouth go, wow, oh my God, just can't believe how much movement's on it, and then it ends in the zone. So, he has a ton of talent. I liked him in his cameo for Game of Thrones. I just hope that he can stay healthy.
Health is the key. That's the theme of the show. Now, you would think Syndergaard, he's got to be a lock to be the MLB Comeback Player of the Year this year for the NL. Either him or Cespedes. It's going to be a Met. But the other guy you might want to consider, maybe this guy is going to be a 2-time Comeback Player of the Year because he's looking really good so far this year, and that's the Dark Knight. He has risen again, and that's Matt Harvey. He's looked really good, John. 2 starts, 5 innings pitched, and a 1.80 ERA. I like what I'm seeing. I'm very encouraged.
Listen, I've always liked Matt Harvey. I think he's a good ball player. It's one of those things where I'm a little worried. I feel like I'm a girlfriend that he's broken up with a couple times, so I'm worried about letting him back in again, if you know what I mean. It's just I'll believe it if we're having the same conversation around the All-Star game and he has 7 or 8 wins and he's still healthy, then I'm I'm a believer.
Well, is there any truer quote when it comes to describe Matt Harvey than to say you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain?
Oh, of course. And you know what? I think that's going to be a big thing with the new manager. Terry Collins, I liked him. He's a very nice guy. But, I think he was a little bit of a pushover for these guys that have this, type A personality. They're very pushy. And, Matt Harvey is a pushy guy. And, he needs a manager who's going to tell him no and sort of put him in his place. And, Terry Collins was not that guy. And sometimes, Harvey let himself pitch in where he shouldn't have been pitching anymore and, probably led to some of his injuries.
Right. So, obviously, like we said all show, it's going to come down to health this season. If they're healthy, they should be able to contend, but we'll see what happens. That's going to do it for this episode of the MetsCast. Again, you can find me on Twitter at Nick_Durst and John on Twitter at S_Sports. Until next time, everybody, let's go Mets.